So this is Jock Howard of the Trenton 365 show, and we are here at the headquarters of Mercer Street Friends in the Mill Hill section of Trenton, New Jersey. I want to take a couple of moments to thank all the people who are here at the table, and also to 78 Ways Films, who is filming this actual conversation. As I said, I'm the creator and host of the Trenton 365 show, and the impetus behind the program is to promote civic engagement to build a better community. And that includes partnering with nonprofit organizations such as Mercer Street Friends. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce the Executive Director of Mercer Street Friends, Armstead Johnson.
Thank you very much, Jock. I came to Mercer Street Friends in June of 2016, and I think I met Jock probably a few months after that. And one of the things I wanted to do was try to do something that's different. I've been in the nonprofit field for 30 plus years, and I jokingly say this is my last hurrah. Mercer Street Friends is it for me. When I leave Mercer Street Friends, I'm going out to pasture. But I wanted to make certain that nonprofits really start working with each other. We look at the private industry and there's been downsizing, mergers, but in the nonprofit field, we didn't really do that. And we need to start doing that for our survival. But at the same time, we need to start doing that so that we can better serve the individuals that we try to serve. So Mercer Street Friends is a cradle to career social services agency, and I'm going to let my Deputy Executive Director talk more about that, but that's why we're gathering today. This is the first of several conversations that we'll have. How can we work together? How can we better serve the individuals that we are trying to serve in Trenton or the greater Mercer County area?
Fantastic. And the Assistant Executive Director?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Anisha Walker. I have been with Mercer Street Friends for about 13 years now in various capacities. I started here as a therapist, working primarily with adjudicated youth, and progressively took on more administrative roles. I'm a licensed clinical social worker by training, and I am passionate about helping people access resources that are needed for them. Mercer Street Friends several years ago adopted the mission that we would move people from poverty to self-sufficiency, and through that we have adopted the community school strategy as a way to incorporate all of the services in which we provide to the community. And we had to do some soul searching where we looked at how do we have meaningful impact in the community. We saw that we were stretched very wide, but where did we have strength and expertise? And that's really where we honed in our skills. And so many people have known us by the large Mercer Street, our home visiting program, and our drug and alcohol program, and they have seen us evolve as an organization. And at this point, we've really had to look at what do we do well, what are the needs, what are the current needs of the community, and how do we relevantly serve them. And so since Armstead has been our executive director, we've looked at the life cycle of a family from cradle to career, and what does that mean in the community. What we found was that many of the services that we already provided was helpful to the family and or individual at the various points in which they touched Mercer Street. But what we wanted to have was a more holistic workaround, I guess, with the family, where it's not we're only working with the preschooler, or we're only working with the school age child, or we're only working with the adult, but we're working with the family in a holistic way. And so that really charged us as an organization to streamline our services and become more integrated in everything that we do. So our food bank services are integrated in everything that we do. Case management is integrated in everything that we do. And so you begin to see this network of Mercer Street Friends services, but that helps us to serve families and the community in a more meaningful and impactful way.
We're going to continue down towards my right.
Okay, my name is Ben Thornton. I'm with Anchor House. I've been with Anchor House for 20 plus years. We have been in the community for more than 40 years. And our primary concern is unsheltered youth. We work with homeless youth and families, and along the same lines, when you're bringing services to youth who are unsheltered, being unsheltered is probably just the tip of the iceberg in terms of problems that they may have. So we do, along the same lines, have a holistic approach to when we're helping a young person, bringing resources and services to the family and into the environment where they're coming from, buys you a lot of inroads with trying to make sure that that young person gets the wraparound of all of the services that they need to be self-sufficient, and also that when they go back to the environment that they're coming from, there's not such a contrast that it's taking us 5 steps backwards on the work that we've done, trying to stabilize the situation for the young person. But my passion is that youth homelessness in Trenton, New Jersey is a real problem. It's symptomatic of a lot of other problems that are going on in the home. And sometimes by addressing something that becomes so extreme for a young person, you kind of tap into some of the problems that the family's having. And then we are networked throughout the city and throughout the county to try to bring those resources to the family. Because you can never solve homelessness or unsheltered episodes in the short term. So we do partner with and have to work with and sit at the same tables with a lot of youth serving agencies, because it's the schools, it's the hospitals, it's just about everything that may touch the life of a child.
Great. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
My name is Laurie Colano, and I'm with Hope Loves Company. And we specifically help children who have a parent or loved one who has ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, which is terminal in 2 to 5 years. We actually do programs around the country. And I love your holistic approach, because we started the camps just for the children, and that is our mission. But we now have the parents there and taking part in the programs too, because you need to help the parents if you're going to help the children. So I know that Jody, who should be here soon and founded this, was just at a clinic a week or so ago, and she met a young woman from Trenton who was a single mom who has ALS. So I think our service would be more auxiliary to helping you whenever we can when a family is affected by ALS.
Great. Thank you very much, Lauren.
Carter Patterson from R.E.A.C.H Family Partners, Operation Fatherhood. So I've been doing this kind of work for 20 plus years. I've been with R.E.A.C.H Family Partners for the past 5. And I think one of the things that at R.E.A.C Family Partners, and one of the things I'm most passionate about, is making sure that fathers are put back into context of family, right? When I have clients and I have the men that we provide support for, and they come to me and they have these horror stories about going to social service agencies and not being respected, not being recognized. And just basically just the whole idea of fatherhood has been put on the back burner, because when social service thinks about family, it's mother and child, right? And so what we do is not anti-mom, right? It's just pro-father, and making sure that there's this attitudinal shift of, yes, dad is a part of the family, right? And so what do we do, right? So I have workforce development activities. We've partnered with some of the folks in the room, which it's just really, really good work, because when we talk about dealing with the family unit and bringing dad back in, dad needs a whole lot of support, right? So, and then sometimes when people talk about fatherhood, they immediately start to think about poor dad, right? and the man that is, transitioning from, being incarcerated from a long period of time, transitional housing and homelessness, undiagnosed mental health issue, and sometimes the idea around fatherhood, like, oh, these are the guys that need help. But fatherhood encompasses every man that is a father, right? And so it's been very difficult for me over the past 5 years to kind of engage and invoke the hearts of men, right? To kind of get them to say, hey, this fatherhood program isn't just for the gentleman who needs these kind of services around, just their basic needs, food, clothing, and shelter. But we can talk about higher level things like how to talk to your children about drugs, how to talk to your children about sex, right? How to fill out a financial aid application, and then everything else in between, So basically our mission is helping men to become better fathers. That's why I'm here.
Great, thank you. Susan?
And I'm Susan Adams, and I'm with Women's Space, and we are the local domestic violence sexual assault program. I've been with the agency a little over 30 years. This is my last job. I keep saying that every year. We provide shelter, counseling, transitional housing. We even have a legal clinic for for issues of family law. As I said, we've been around 41 years, and when we were founded, our name was Women's Space, because 47 years ago, domestic violence was a grassroots movement. We didn't have sexual assault services 40 years ago. We brought that on about 17 years ago. So as I said, domestic violence was grassroots. The name came up, Woman's Space, because it really was for women. Women had nowhere to go, no resources. What we have found over the years, and we have accepted very willingly, that there are male victims of domestic violence. And you know how hard it is for a female to admit what's going on? Imagine how hard it is for a man.
Yeah.
So our services are for any victim survivor of domestic violence or sexual assault. The only thing that we do not provide for the male is the shelter. Our shelter is strictly for women and children. If a man needs to go into an emergency shelter, there are other resources that we reach out to for men's programs. As I said, we brought on sexual assault about 17 years ago, and we thought, well, how hard can that be? Well, what we found out is that most sexual assaults aren't reported. So it was our job to start getting the word out that sexual assault is the most underreported crime, that we do need to provide services, and they're at the moment of crisis. So what we have done in the last 20-some years, we train volunteers. We do 80 hours of training. 40 hours of that is for domestic violence. 40 hours of that is for sexual assault. And these are our response teams. If it's a domestic violence, our volunteers are called, they're on a call list, and they go to a particular police department in Mercer County, or we go to the area college campuses. We're on all the college campuses, Princeton, TCNJ, and Rider. We don't do Mercer County as a rule because it's a commuting school. It's not a residential. We are also at the state police on Route 130 in Hamilton. For sexual assault, our volunteers go to one of the area hospitals. When we started this, Princeton Hospital was in Mercer County. But as you know, the actual physical hospital is not in Mercer County anymore. But that, I can't think of what the name of that county is now. It's New Brunswick. No, it's
Hunterdon.
No, you're going right around us. Anyway, Middlesex. It is Middlesex. The hospital is in Middlesex, but their program isn't at the level that we are in trained volunteers to respond to sexual assault. So what we do is we respond to all Mercer County hospitals as well as Princeton, and we are part of a triage. You have to have your forensic nurse for the forensic exam. You have to have law enforcement because you're collecting evidence in case it goes to court. And then the third prong is the woman-based volunteer, whether it's a volunteer or staff. And we are with the victim throughout the entire forensic exam, which can be anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. So we work with law enforcement. We work with all other agencies. What we have learned, in fact, someone asked me, I was at an event in December, and this gentleman came over to me and said, if you could say one thing to me about what Woman's Space does well, I'm at a country club, a glass of wine. What does Woman's Space, what's the one thing you think Woman's Space does well? And I had to think about it a second. I said, I think what Woman's Space does well is gets the person who's in front of us in a safe place. You can't help that person if they don't feel safe. And we are not here, we can't fix everything that's probably wrong with this one person. And we recognize that. We don't try to fix everything. Our job is to get them into a safe place, and then you start dissecting, deciding, exploring what are the other issues, and it's mostly mental health, addictions.
Great. Thank you for that. And I think everyone did a fantastic job of sharing a bit about what their organizations do. But there's a couple of key things that I heard from each person. And it was the openness and willingness and the need for partnerships. So if anyone would like to jump in and talk about how important the partnerships are, and Susan, I think you started to allude to that in your statement, but how important partnerships are, and are you doing anything to actively seek out new partners?
So, partnerships, absolutely vital to what we do. I know I always talk with my staff about wrapping a warm blanket around the men and then walking hand in hand together through the process. Well, in that process, we cannot do it alone, right? And so there are housing referrals that need, that we don't provide direct housing, that we can hand that off to another city-based agency or another nonprofit agency. There are necessary things to kind of get the guys up to speed, like getting their ID, right? And so there's a program down at the Trenton area soup kitchen where they have funding down there to help individuals get their identification, like those source documents, like your birth certificate, a state ID, those kinds of things. And we couldn't do it all alone. And then a lot of times, I try to tell the staff is that, we can't be everything to the guys, right? Because if you go into it with this attitude like I'm Superman and I'm going to save you, you'll always set yourself and then the client up for failure because you're over promising and then under delivering on exactly what they're coming there for help. They're coming there for, like, what made me think when you were talking, that you give them sanctuary, right? And they have to feel safe, right? And so in that safety and in that feeling, there has to be trust built into that, and that trust comes from actually doing what you say you're going to do, and we cannot do it alone, right? Yeah.
Anyone else?
Okay, you go ahead.
Okay. Mercer Street Friends, we do a lot in our in-house services, but we also realize, just like many of you, that we can't do it all either. We can't, and it's better to collaborate with a partner who is doing a specific thing well. You are doing women abusive services and trauma-focused services, and you are working with men. Why don't we partner with you? Because that's what you're doing, and you're doing it well. Let's not replicate and do something that we're not going to provide sufficient services. We might touch on whatever the client's needs are, but if we're not going to do it well, why don't we partner with somebody who is already doing that? And we particularly have found that in working inside the schools, recognizing that we work in conjunction with the schools, the teachers, the nurses, the staff already there, but looking holistically at the child, A child is not just a brain, a child is not just a belly, but a child is a part of a family. A child is, has so many factors that contribute to who they are. And so we need to tap into those resources that can meet those needs. We have a staff person who regularly talks about the system as Swiss cheese, right? And we fill in those holes. And so that's what we try to do. We can't fill in those holes in and of ourselves, so we try to pull in partnerships and collaborations with organizations who can help us meet the needs of the clients we serve.
Well, with you talking about that Swiss cheese, when you think of women's space, anybody that knows women's space, they think of shelter, roof over your head. Well, that's the biggest problem in Mercer County, is putting an affordable roof over someone's head. So what we have been doing for collaboration and reaching out to other organizations to get our footprint in their program is we're working with we're dealing with the homeless issue. So we have staff who are going into Homefront, Trenton Area Soup Kitchen, and the Rescue Mission on a regular basis, because a lot of the people who are in there are dealing with what the services, they need the services that we provide, but they're homeless. That is the bigger issue right now. So that's where we at Women's Space are working very hard.
Ben, you had something to add?
Sure. I'll just give you a quick example. We're working with youth who may have been in foster care their whole lives. Right? So you have a young man who's been in foster care from 16 to 18 years of age. He's aged out of foster care, so he can't stay in the foster home. So now he's part of one of our aging out programs for housing. One of the new innovative programs we have for aging out youth is called Connect to Home, and they work with DCA. It's not a social service type of organization, to provide Section 8 vouchers for young people who need housing. So an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old who's been in foster care their whole lives has a different perspective of what home is. Is now trying to create home, or the idea or the value of home, at a late stage, and now has to navigate a DCA Section 8 voucher. Right, so you have adults who can't do that. Making that certification appointment on time, making sure you have all the documentation that you have, understanding what their schedule is for seeing clients. This is a environment and an arena that a youth who has a traumatized past is not going to navigate effectively. And our program actually partners with DCA to try to provide a safer space for youth who may not have all of those executive functions, but the field office does understand what situation they're in, and they can work with and provide services to a youth that might not always have the same behavior, may not always have the words to describe what's going on with them, but they've been sensitive to the types of things we're trying to do with young people. And so you have an agency that's not really geared for social services for young people, but does understand what we're trying to do. And so we have an effective partnership to pull that off. And we've successfully housed almost 20 youth in that program.
Or you have something you want to add?
We don't, since we do work with ALS families, it's pretty much we're just offering any services and support we can to your organizations. Our funding is completely different sources. It's ALS organizations. So we just want to find out if there's a way that we can help.
Great. So it sounds like a lot of the work that everyone's doing it's much broader than just what your mission statement is. Like, you're all sort of interconnected, et cetera. Can each of you share a little bit about what you feel you do well, and also follow that up with some of the challenge areas that you feel that you have, and then let's see if that will stimulate some ideas about partnering organizations in some capacity.
So, if I can, partnering, and I think I take a very human approach to this, and I think the success and what we do well at U.I.H. Family Partners is, I think, authentically connecting with the people that we're partnering with, right? So in the nonprofit world, grant time comes around, right? And then everybody's running around, oh, would you sign this letter for me? Would you sign this letter for me? And then sometimes, those letters, and if we get those letters signed, it can be very well intended, but there's really no true partnership there, right? There's not an authentic connection. I kind of want to take it back to, taking someone out to lunch, right? And really authentically connecting with that person and having that person buy into what it is that we're doing, right? And so if it's a fatherhood program and you are a social service agency, and if there is some synergy between the two, well, let's talk about it a few times over a real connection, as opposed to, please sign this letter for me, my letter of support, right? Let's connect, right? Because we are dealing with people. We're dealing with people and their lives, their goals, and some people have this years and years of history of trauma, right? And now we're trying to kind of microwave this partnership in order to go after, $10, $20, or $30,000. It doesn't work, because then the partnership kind of falls away because there was no authenticity there. So I think just building partnerships, authentic connections with the people, and having champions really to our cause, right, is what we do well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, you mentioned something that I've always said, doing this nonprofit thing for a long time. The word collaboration came up, and certainly like the United Way was big on collaborations, and we would go out, without collaboration, and we would go out and sign those letters of collaboration, have them in the proposal, and we never talked to each other after that. One of the things that I would like to do with our staff here is just what you're talking about. Have true partnerships. And true partnerships can only be developed if we meet around the table like we're talking about. Line staff meet with each other and talk to them. And there is a real relationship between the employees of the nonprofit. So it just becomes natural. Oh, let me call so-and-so on the phone, and then there's a connect. So the person, the client that we're working with sees, oh, there's a natural relationship there, and so it could be smooth. I've been, I tell a horror story, and I won't mention the town that I worked in, but the company I worked for, I was working for the Urban League, and I had to turn in our report. And I went into a social services agency. I went into the wrong entrance. I was looking for the entrance just to turn in a progress report. I was probably dressed just like a suit and tie. And I walked into the client side. And I tell people that I was treated like dirt. I was treated like worse than dirt. And then I was trying to explain to the person at the front desk why I was there, and her response, I have no idea what you're talking about. And someone walking past her and behind her saw and realized what I was saying. They weren't nice to me either. They basically said, you came in the wrong way. Go out that door up that way, and that's where you're supposed to be. We have to stop that. We have to, stop that. And the only way we can do it is working together, having true partnerships, organic partnerships that really work. And, as an executive director who has to write those grants and get the grant, I'm always looking for money, but sometimes it's like Field of Dreams. Build it and it will come. The money will come, but the partnerships have to come first.
Anyone else want to add to that?
Sure, I would just add to it. And Carter, I'm pretty sure you've had this experience. Agreeing with both things that you're saying, we work with young people who see agencies as silos, right? There's school, and if they see me and Carter together, everything starts to change in terms of their assessment of what the community is that's serving them, right? So I know Carter from a long time ago. I know Stacy from a long time ago. If they see us talking, things, I got more questions just because they saw me with individuals from another place, right? And when they realize that we do know each other.
Right. It's like a phone.
Right. Oh, okay. I can't keep separate stories and compartmentalize my trauma. And so that going to a place where there's the glass window and you're asking for traumatized youth, you have to understand they're not going back to that window anymore, right? And when they see me advocate for them and to, you ask what we do well. Anchor House, we advocate, we build relationships with young people, and then adults, and of course, agencies. But when I show up at the window and I know Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so who's behind the window, and I understand they have to deal with some pretty difficult things during the course of a day, but people change people, and when we realize I know you, you know me, that conversation for our young person is just different the next time. Oh, you were here with Mr. Carter before. Okay, and like you said, you just get a different treatment. You're not a number in line. So, we got to bring that human piece back to the way we serve.
One thing, I'm not clinical. I'm administrative level woman space, and my main focus is community outreach. And I think that's a huge, important piece of any nonprofit, anybody that's offering services to the community. You can't assume that people know who you are and what you do. I don't care how long you've been out there. You need to keep your face and name out there. So for my part, I go to just about anything I'm invited to, because you never know if it's just one person you may meet. So I think community outreach is a huge piece. There's no taking away from what our counselors do, but they're more in a bubble. They're in the office, but you need to be out in the community all of the time. And I just don't have information about women's space when I'm out there. Because I know Dress for Success. People are always asking me about that. Homefront. I have PEI kids. I have that other literature with me because a lot of agencies don't have the resources, the staff, to have people go out. My sole job is to go out there. If I'm in the office, I'm not doing my job. So I just think community outreach is a huge piece of what nonprofits need to do. It's hard to do it if you don't have the money and the staff.
So, sticking with that, money and staff. You all operate in Mercer County. You understand the wealth that is here in this community, how diverse our state is. How do we get beyond the need for money and for staff to increase the amount of programs that we're doing? And if you don't know exactly how that could happen, in a dream setting, what would you like to see happen? How about that?
Was this kind of what I was mentioning because I do have the luxury of being able to be out there. I carry around with me other agencies' information, because when someone comes up to talk to you at a health fair, at a church event, trust me, they don't have only one problem. So when you get into that conversation, you can sometimes within 5 minutes determine what else they may need, and just having that other piece of paper with you, I strongly suggest that you contact these people. I can't tell you how many times I've handed over my phone. They needed to get in shelter, they needed to talk to someone, but it's being out there and being willing to talk. Don't be sitting there like, be open, be willing. And that's why quite often when I do events, because of the sensitivity of our subject, I'm always put off in a corner. I'm not out in the open, so that people are more inclined to at least come over and talk. No, sorry.
To answer the money part of that, there's a saying that says doing the same thing over and over again and expecting things to change is the definition of insanity. We as nonprofits have to really start looking at doing things differently. There are organizations that use social entrepreneurship to raise money. If we were in the private industry, maybe some of our nonprofits would have been, no, some of our businesses would have been closed because we weren't creative, we weren't thinking the same way about starting or raising money for our organization. You know, grants are good, donors are good, but how do we engage them? How do we engage them together? You know, I worked with an organization. I worked in a town that it was a upwardly mobile town. It was Hoboken, New Jersey, and a group of people got together many years before I worked in there, and they liked to party, and they were young, upwardly mobile, and they got together and they said, you know what? Let's form an organization, and the organization was called Party with a Purpose. And if you know anything about Hoboken, Hoboken has bars, and they took that and took that to their advantage. And my small little organization at the time, every year we received at least $40,000, $45,000, $50,000 from them. They were raising hundreds of thousands of dollars through these events, and it became a social thing, a networking thing. And we as nonprofits have to think differently. You know, what can we all do together to raise money? What can we all do to raise awareness? We raise it collectively and divide it among ourselves, but we have to look at things differently. My staff gets on me when I say I started to say I wasn't going to say it, but I'm going to say it because it's my mantra. I don't like government grants, and government grants many times just stranglehold you. They're important. They're out there. I'm going to go after them, but they stranglehold you. We need to find out ways that we can get money from private sources, and we need to promote ourselves. We need to find out how, on a budget, we can market what we do, because that is what the private industry is doing to us right now.
Well, that's why we're doing so much social media. Because that's what we have to reach the young people. Our big donors are our older people.
We'll call them seasoned. We'll say that they're seasoned. And I can say that now because I'm
Mature.
at that magical number.
Mature.
That magical number.
Season.
It's
Yes.
social media.
And I just want to jump in and welcome and introduce Jody O'Donnell Ames. And Jody, just take a couple minutes and share a bit about who you are. Lori has talked a bit about Hope Loves Company, but if you could add your little bit to that as well.
Absolutely. So thank you for having me, and I'm sorry I'm late. Once I got the GPS here, it took me to the right Mercer Street, so I don't know. Once I was here. So I'm the founder of Hope Loves Company, and today actually is the 18th anniversary of the passing of my husband, Kevin. And so we created Hope Loves Company to support families who are affected by ALS. And actually 2 weeks ago I was at Temple at a clinic, and an ALS clinic, and met a woman who lives here in Trenton who's battling ALS. So we will, I was grateful to meet her. It was just a coincidence that I could be there to offer support, and I look forward to bringing these services to more families. Basically, we've been in existence for 6 years, and all of our services are free of charge.
Can you just talk a bit about the camps?
Sure. Actually, I can talk a lot about the camps, but we're on the cover of US 1.
Congratulations.
So thank you if anyone wants to see it. But we currently have 6 free camps across the nation. One is in New Jersey, and it takes place in May, the 3rd weekend of May. And it's a full weekend retreat. It's a camp experience with the normal camp activities such as a bonfire and hiking and archery and canoeing. But it's also infused with coping skills and the ability to meet other children who are affected and who can become peers and friends. So it's a supportive.
Yes, and can you share about the reason why you started Hope Loves Company?
Absolutely. I started Hope Loves Company because I lost my husband to ALS in 2001 today. And I continue to advocate and to help bring awareness to ALS, and I worked as the Director of Communications in Philadelphia with an ALS organization, and met my current husband there, who also lost his wife to ALS, and became the mother of 2 bonus children, and then found myself raising 3 children under the age of 11 who had all lost a parent to ALS. And even as a trained teacher, I recognized that children grieve differently, they process grief differently, they, it happened in so many, it was so varied that it surprised me even as an educator. So I realized that children needed support and there were no resources. So when our children started college, I made a vow to provide these services and free of charge, so no one had to worry about the finances of it. And started out of my home in 2010, actually before that, but really, really hard, long days then, and we became a 501c3 in 2012 and have provided 19 free camps across the nation. On average, 50 Hugs of Hope care packages, calls every day from families who are looking for resources to they're frightened with this terminal illness and just want to be able to, what's the first concern of my children? How do I share this information? We send out free books so that they can have that conversation. And we guide them with that. And we're also now starting a helpline. So we'll be able to help after hours as well. I do it already. People call my cell constantly, so I figured why not call in a helpline, because that's what we're doing.
That's awesome.
So, sure, thank you for sharing. So the organizations here have been sharing a bit about some of the things that they do, what they feel they do well. And I want to refocus some attention to areas that you think that needs improvement. Let's just not say we do them bad, but areas that you feel you could do a better job as an organization with. And you don't have to go into detail, but just put it out there so it can kind of maybe stimulate some others' thoughts.
Well, I know for us, I run a fatherhood program specifically to help men become better dads. And populating our programs, right? I don't want to at any moment misrepresent that we have hundreds and thousands of people just rushing through the door, to learn how to be a better dad. It is a struggle, right? It is a struggle to get men to populate my parenting classes. Sometimes the larger scale events that we do, like we did a fatherhood symposium a couple years ago. Like it was well attended, but it wasn't like, wow, this was a fantastic event. So, I just want to always be very honest and not represent what we do by saying, yes, there's still a big challenge in getting men involved in their own health, involved in their children's lives sometimes, right? And making sure that the services that we provide, they actually access and then engage with them. It is a challenge. It's a challenge.
Do you have a small staff?
Our organization, we have about 20 staff members.
Okay.
Right? I supervise about 8 of those folks. We have 2 offices. We have one in Mercer, one in Burlington. And again, it's just, when I'm thinking about just on a daily basis, getting, guys to sit in my 24/7 dad parenting classes was like, like crickets, like, come on guys, let's get it together, But what we found is that, a classroom setting and that whole Socratic method, and I'm in the front of the class and I'm giving a lecture, doesn't work with men, right? And so we found that the one-on-one sessions work out a lot better, But just large-scale events and populated classes are our biggest challenge.
Great. Susan, you said?
For us, as I said, Women's Space was founded, domestic violence, sexual assault, we weren't here, was for women 18 and over. As I said, we've now expanded to any victim survivor, which would include men. Children. That's been our hardest, because in order to get the children involved, we have to have their parent engaged and involved. So that's, I would say, where we have to work the hardest. It's not that we aren't there and ready and willing to work with the children. It's how do we, the parent has so many problems of their own. The child quite often does get put off to the side because they're dealing with so much of what they're dealing with and forgetting that this child is the silent victim. So that's something that I've seen over the years, that we're working very hard at trying to build our children's program. It's a very good program. It's a small program, so there's plenty of room for growth, and I would say that's where we have to, where we're putting a focus.
Great. Armstead?
I would say marketing. People know us as the food bank. People know us as the home visitation program. People know us as the preschool program, parenting program, adult education, but they don't know us as the collective Mercer Street Friends. So I think that's what we have to do. And I'll be honest with you, the food bank is probably known by most people. The first thing they say when they think of Mercer Street Friends is the food bank, which is very good. I mean, it's needed. We are the food bank of Mercer County, but we're more, and we have to do our marketing much better.
Okay. Dr. Nisha?
I was actually going to say the same thing. So I guess
Great minds.
Yeah, isn't that you got the executive director and the assistant executive director right on
the
first?
thing that came to mind.
That's great. We can drop the mic.
So I'll pass it along.
Well, I'm gonna follow suit with another draw 4. Ours, I would say, is marketing as well. Most people know about Anchor House's shelter on Center Street. That's the flagship. They know about our Ride for Runaways, the bike ride. And even that, we want more riders and cyclists to be attracted to the bike ride. It's our big fundraiser. But they don't know about the outreach. They don't know about the aging out programs, rapid rehousing, Connect to Home, Anchor Link, our outreach, and then we even have the outreach workers at the C Center in Trenton, right on Perry Street. So that marketing component to really get out to the community, some of the other things that they might not think of Anchor House for, but it's definitely some of the work that we can do. It's not just for minors. And our outreach program specifically, our sort of mandate is to end youth homelessness by 2020.
Wow.
And we're working with the city, we're working with the COC, the county, fantastic partnerships that we have going in order to forward that mission. But it's the marketing skill set, right? And we're using our youth. We have a youth advisory council, and those young people, they've been on a radio show with me at WIMG, and those young people are trying to get the groundswell for youth in the Trenton area to understand that, number one, a youth will never identify themselves as homeless, right? That's just not a language that they use, and they're going to school every day and trying to fit in and not look homeless. So they're not going to be on the peninsulas, on the highways, and things like that. So we have to go out and actually talk to young people and educate them about what homelessness is. If you're at your friend's house for more than 2 weekends and it's not a slumber party, you're having an out-of-home experience, and we know that if this is continuous throughout your adolescent years, that your perspective of home and stability is going to be very skewed. And if there's trauma involved, then we're off to the races for homelessness. So our marketing to get out there, this is a public health issue. There's so many studies right now that show that youth experiencing homelessness have more risk factors, poorer health outcomes. And so we should treat it like a public health issue, get it out there, have t-shirts, all that kind of stuff, because our youth, if we treat it that way, they'll get onto it and it'll just be like second knowledge. You don't want to spend too much time outside of your household for various different reasons, and developing that value for home and stability. So to market that, to connect that to our outreach, to get that message out there to young people that there's a threat to your health called homelessness or being out of your home or not having stability in the home, I think we could do that a lot better.
Great. Lori and Jody, would you like to share a bit about areas that you think that Hope Loves Company can improve?
Yeah, we, because ALS is considered a rare disease, getting the word out and getting our free services out as well is always a challenge. We have a very small staff. Most of Mercer County doesn't even know we exist. And it's hard to continue the discussion because the people that we serve don't live very long. So it's, you know, it's a continuous battle to not only find the families that we need to serve, but to continue to help them outside of the care program, because we need to build our services. But if people don't even know the few that we have and where we are, it's hard to get the funding to build from there.
Right, because it is a rare disease. We found that we had to do the camp retreats around the country, and then we're trying to do that in California, Florida, and other places to get the word out. So I think marketing resonates. But what you said too, I want to echo. I mean, one of the reasons Jody wanted to start Hope Loves Company is when your husband is dying, you're trying to be there for him. And the children often have their own scared, afraid, and both parents are caught up. And that's exactly what it sounds like you're trying to address too.
It's not intentional most of the time.
No,
No, of course not.
I think one of the things that I'm hearing too with both of your scenarios is establishment of trust with the parents and perhaps incentives. Because you're right, it's hard to impact children if you can't get the parent on board.
Yeah.
And it's that holistic
Right.
way of doing things.
You know, this community that we are in here in central New Jersey, and New Jersey in particular, is very diverse demographically. And Trenton in particular has a rapidly growing Latino, Hispanic, or Spanish-speaking community. And oftentimes they're not fully engaged for various reasons. Each of your organizations, what are you doing to address the Latino, Hispanic community or Spanish-speaking population? And are there any thoughts you have around the work that you're doing to reach out to those communities?
Well, Women's Space, all of our services are bilingual. That right off the bat, there isn't, if you call our hotline, call during the day, invariably a bilingual person's going to even answer the phone. So it's not just the language though, it's a culture.
Dialects.
Right. So we have a lot of staff. Another big area of diversity here in Mercer County is the South Asian. And as I said, just because you know the language doesn't mean you're going to be able to communicate. Another area, and it's a population that people don't think about, the deaf and hearing impaired. That is, and you talk about isolated. I mean, Hispanic communities, yes, a lot of it really stays within the four walls. But think about it, a deaf, hard of hearing person. So we actually have a deaf advocacy program, and we have volunteers trained who are American Sign. So if we have someone come in who needs services and can't speak, we have volunteers.
Great.
And we have a texting hotline number now for that at the shelter. So that's another area people don't think about.
True.
Anyone else?
We only have one of our books being translated in Spanish. That's as far as we've gotten. We're doing a poor job at this point.
I would say 3/4 of our services have Spanish-speaking staff. One of the areas that we have found challenging is definitely Spanish-speaking population, but also we have in our adult education programs other languages like Creole and some West African dialects that we're trying to provide services for. And so we are mindful. We don't have staff that speak all the languages, particularly Spanish, but we're mindful that when we're recruiting volunteers to assist us, that we're kind of putting that out there, that we need Spanish speaking, we need Creole and other languages to assist in providing the services. In conjunction, our work in the context of the schools, we're working with teachers. We have one teacher who's doing an amazing job with teaching staff the basic Spanish language so that they can communicate the basic level, getting demographic information, things like that. But it's definitely something that we need to work on.
Well, we find church is a good resource for that.
Mm-hmm.
Our counseling director is an ordained Methodist minister, so she does a lot of the outreach with the churches, and there's all the different languages, cultures, and making inroads, having a contact at a specific church. If you have a client, just helps.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Ben, you want to jump in that, but I come right back to that.
Sure. I guess from a different angle, everything that everybody said in terms of our staff, we try to have some Spanish-speaking individuals on staff that can translate in terms of language. But the bigger point, I think you mentioned culture, right? And so we do some cultural competency training so that we can see diversity in our space as an opportunity. So for example, a young Latino male, trying to have some cultural competency about where he may be coming from, asking more questions. We find that sometimes the idea of family, the idea of responsibility to family is different throughout cultures. So in the Hispanic culture or Latino culture, we could use that as an opportunity to reach the young person. So as opposed to this individual one-on-one type of conversation, putting it in the context of family, right? Whereas they may be oriented and understanding what they do reflects family and things like that. So sometimes it's actually an opportunity to appeal from a cultural standpoint what you're trying to address with the young person.
Susan, you brought up or touched on for the first time tonight the faith community that's here. Trenton it is well documented that Trenton has plenty of churches, not only the pop-up neighborhood churches and storefront churches and house churches, but the big, large real estate taking up churches here in Trenton as well. Can you talk about your individual organizations and your relationships with the faith community? And I say faith community because I don't want it to sound just like churches.
No,
We have mosques here. We have people who don't worship, who consider themselves spiritual as well. So each of your organizations and your connectedness with the faith community here in Trenton.
So we have none, right? And again, this is not a dig against the faith community. They are the ultimate silos. If you do not have membership in the church, if you are not a part of the congregation, this has been in my experience, right? A lifelong resident of Trenton, been working in the nonprofit world here for 20 plus years. And I have yet to have a true, authentic partnership with any of the major historical churches here in the city of Trenton. We've had one the year before last. We partnered with Pastor Hernandez, who was fantastic, and we did a Christmas toy giveaway there, which actually worked out well, right? But then that was it, right? Not because of anybody's kind of failure or anything, but it's just if you're not an active member in that specific church, so. Of course, I do fatherhood work, and I would love to come to the men's group. Every church has a men's ministry. They do Bible study, but I don't want to go, and I was told not to go to hijack the Bible study to talk about men's stuff. To talk to the men's ministry, I have had to be cleared by the deacon and the pastor, and what are you going to be talking about? Or, it's just fatherhood work, right?
Because it is a ministry.
It is, right. So it has been incredibly difficult to connect with the faith community here in Trenton. Absolutely.
Well documented, and I'll follow up with you on that as well. Anyone else in the faith community?
We've had success partnerships with the faith community. Last year, Turning Points Church hosted our Connecting Youth event for youth who are experiencing homelessness as part of the Point in Time Count. And our youth may be connected to some type of religious organization. So even in our case management, that's part of the overall, work that we're doing with youth, to connect them to anything that they would consider spiritual, and if they have a church family or whatever, to assess how that's going to help them with their goals. So we've had some partnerships. I've known Reverend Armstrong be very active and supportive of a lot of the work that we've done, in particular in that area. So we've had some successful relationships with the faith community in Trenton.
Well, I think for us, why we are more successful maybe is because we have a very large volunteer base. And we have volunteers who belong to that church. And as I said, having an ordained minister on staff, that is a huge.
Yeah, and part of it is, I think if I walked to any door of any agency in the area and said, hey, I work to help homeless youth, I don't think, it's not going to be competing with anything that they do as far as business. So I think that might change sometimes, depending on what it is that you're like. If a fatherhood group, that is a ministry, right? So they might be viewed as some sort of competition for. Yes. So yeah, I could understand how it's going to be varying depending on what your work is.
That's my pushback.
Oftentimes when I'm a part of these conversations and stuff, I love the way the energy just flows, because it flows right into the next topic. And that is your relationship with the administration where you do your work. So your organizations, yours is national, but for the most part, your organizations all operate here in Mercer County. So you have to have a relationship with the municipalities where you, and you're in Lawrence Township. The others are here in Trenton. So can you just talk a bit about your relationship with the municipal government and what you would like to see improve in those regards?
Not so much the municipal government, but let's talk about the educational bureaucracy. And I really mean this, not to come out as harshly as it may, but it probably will.
It can be edited.
Yeah.
You got that, Will?
I started at Mercer Street Friends June 1st, 2016.
Wow.
This is my 4th superintendent of schools. And so much of what Mercer Street Friends does is in the education field or working with the education field. And I'm not on the Board of Education. I'm not even a resident of Trenton. But somehow the powers that be need to understand that you need some stability. If you don't have stability, I'm not saying I'm pro this. I've met all of them since I've been here, and I've liked them. But there has to be, if you want some type of change, there has to be some stability. And if you look at the poor performance of many students in Trenton,
all of this.
Look at the administration. You can't have an administration turning over every couple of years. So if anything needs to change, you need to look at that administration and the adults who are the power brokers and can do that, need to stop fighting each other, need to put egos out of the way and say, wait, let's figure out some way that we can work together rather than, I don't like you, you're out of here.
Right.
Let's find some way to work together because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, because they were even moving the teachers around. You were 1 year here, 1 year there. How can the teachers develop a rapport, a relationship
Trust.
with the student and the family? They're here, and I don't know where that came from, but that system was going on there for a while. I don't know if it still is, but it's the same.
Yeah, there needs to be stability.
It's terrible.
Just to kind of, I just can jump in real quick. You know, so we are working with a research scientist. Her name is Maggie Versa, and she's fantastic. And she wrote, she did some studies. She did some studies around the A.C.E scores of some of the students here in the city of Trenton. But one of the things that she found out in her research, and you can correct me if this is wrong, is that the city of Trenton has taken all of the AP classes out of the district. There are no AP classes in any city, in any school.
I believe the high school
You
still
believe
has
the high
some.
school, okay? Because they
At least math. I know they still have AP math.
and it was just so frustrating because we're thinking about preparing the children, and we're thinking about going in. We are living in the age of information, right? And the children that are living in Trenton and being educated in the Trenton school system, they cannot compete with the townships at all. They're not even in the same level, So just to echo your point, like they need stability. I mean, it's absolutely frustrating. Like my daughter graduated from Princeton Day School, and then I had another daughter who is currently in the public school system, and it's just like apples and oranges. Not granted now Princeton is Princeton, but still the quality of the teacher, the passion of the teachers, is just not there. And I feel for my community.
And well documented on that, and I think that's another probably conversation on its own, just the educational piece of it.
Yeah.
But let's get back to the municipalities,
Yes.
and the reason why I want to focus on them is that these are elected officials. These are people who wanted a job, lobbied for a job, got a job, and it seems as though the residents have a tendency to then retreat back into whatever it is they were doing without holding them accountable. Again, speaking to the fact that this is one of the wealthiest counties in the country, one of the wealthiest states in the nation, and it's also very culturally diverse. So if we have a population of people that are putting someone into office, but not holding them accountable and allowing them to do whatever it is that they do, it's really our fault. So we need to start, I think, at the baseline, and that's part of this. Sure.
Let me just say another thing.
It's about to go down.
Oh yeah, I'm fine. This is what gets me. But this is how we started our relationship. We did a series of forums. On I think we decided to do it with the individuals who were running for city council. Some people felt that they didn't even have to come to our forums. We're running for office, so who cares? Some people didn't show up. Some candidates didn't show up. I think I don't say it with pride, but I'm not a resident of Trenton, but I would be pissed off if I came to a forum and every candidate who was running for my vote didn't attend a forum. But some candidates felt that they didn't even have to. Some said to us, "Oh, you're community schools. What are you doing that for?" So there's a level of arrogance, and it's not just Trenton. It's all over. But there's a level of arrogance with public officials that won't change until people get it together. Now, I've only been here for 2 mayors. I had the opportunity on several occasions to meet the previous mayor. I have not met the current mayor. That's my fault. But I will have an opportunity to sit down. But I have had very good relationships with the previous mayor, and I assume I will have a good relationship with the new mayor. But we somehow, 501c3s were not really political action organizations, but people have to get more involved if they expect something to change.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We've I think we've had a good relationship with the past couple mayors. I think the work that we do, they're really in support of. They've visited our organization. We've had youth meet the mayor. That's a big deal. And so they've been pretty supportive of Anchor House and what we do. I don't know how the inner mechanisms of the politics work, but in the local government, our continuum of care, which is part county, part city, our city folks have been on board with Anchor House's mission as long as I can remember. And the new programming that we've had increased our census for youth 18 to 24 almost 3 times of our capacity before. And that was from some housing options we got from the city. Again, we're working in partnership with the C Center. That's the Coordinated Entry Assessment System. There's a building at 509 Perry Street. Janet Porter is the director of that building, and
we work with her.
So she's worked with us. No issues other than the regular daily work issues to overcome. And Vernette Sherrill, the way these are all the folks down at City Hall that we have our meetings and technical assistance meetings right there in City Hall. So they've been nothing but supportive, and have advanced the ball for us very far. So we're fortunate to have that relationship.
Sure. Jody or Lori and Susan, want to jump in?
Well, we have and had good relationships, both city level, county level, and state level. And I'd say for you, just go knock on Lee Gussior's door.
Yeah.
He's a Trentonian. He's walked the streets here for many, many years. He's very approachable. Just go knock on his door. And if not, I'll tell you where he lives later.
Jody, Lori?
We've had great relationships as well.
Yeah.
All right. That's good. That's good to hear. So I'm super cognizant of time. So we're about almost 20 minutes after 7. I'd like for us to start winding things down, but I want to wind them down with some encouragement for all of you and all the work that you're doing. I'm familiar with all of your organizations in some capacity, and individually you've come very highly recommended by some very close friends. So that's all good. What I'd like to have you consider now is a big lift. Like, what would absolutely make your swan song, as you Susan said,
Last hurrah.
Yeah, last hurrah.
Last hurrah.
Yeah, so your last hurrah. What would you love to see happen here with the organizations that you're representing? And if everyone wants to take a couple minutes to think about that, I'll give you some teasers. Like, I'm thinking huge. I'm thinking big. Like something Ben, you had mentioned, ending youth homelessness in Trenton in 2020. That's less than a year away. Right. To me, that gets me fired up. So now I'm thinking, okay, how can I be a part of that? Because that to me is exciting, right? Mm-hmm. So they're the kind of big lifts and big pushes that I'd like for you all to share. And then I'll follow up with everyone later about how I can be a part of helping you achieve any of those goals. And also to be there to kick you in the pants, because we all need that, including myself, which is why I have a filmmaker like this who likes to keep me on par. He's giving me signals, just so you know, he's giving me signals. So Ben, if you want to just elaborate on ending childhood homelessness by 2020, and if you have anything else.
That would, so a big lift for me, briefly, would be if I went anywhere in the city of Trenton, to a school, to a Street Friends event, just about any event, they would tagline that along with that they're doing. In every school, there's going to be an Anchor House youth. In every Boys and Girls Club, there's going to be youth who are struggling and having housing issues. So if I could just make that a part of the meal at every dinner table, in terms of agencies and stuff, part of the discussion at every table when we're talking about services to youth. Oh yeah, and how many of those youth might have some housing issues? Then that would be the greatest lift for us, right? Because we would love to have the problem that we've tapped into the zeitgeist of Trenton, and young people know where to go unashamed if they're having a housing issue. That would make our jobs a lot more challenging, but a lot more satisfying, that we're addressing the real issue of homelessness for youth in Trenton.
And to break this down to my thinking, you're looking for more exposure, partnership exposure,
Right.
so that when the organizations that are here at the table, when they know that if there's a child who has housing issues, this is steps that they can do immediately.
Absolutely, and the partnership with the agency definitely as the mechanism, but just the presence of mind that they're a homeless youth, and that in every endeavor that I'm talking to people and trying to improve the lives of young people, I'm going to address that piece of it too, the same way I would address smoking and drugs and things like that. I would love to have this as part of everybody's conversation. If you didn't know who Anchor House was, I sacrificed that.
Excellent. Anyone else want to jump in next?
Our biggest problem is homelessness as well. We can only provide shelter for so long. We can only provide transitional housing for so long. We don't have affordable housing in a safe place. Otherwise, it's just a revolving door.
So this is interesting because the biggest thing that comes to mind for me is a tiny home community right here in the city of Trenton, connected to a maker space, right? So the tiny home community would be tiny homes, obviously, that a gentleman who is not making $40 an hour, but they can afford a tiny home at $15 to $18 an hour, right? And actually built in like transitional skill building services in that tiny home community, and have it be a pipeline to a maker space. And so this maker space is like a few months ago, my grant writer and I, we went down to Baltimore to see this place called the Foundry, right? And the Foundry is fantastic. So they have CNC water jet machines. They have, you can learn how to weld, you can learn how to build with bricks, you can learn how to you could be a master woodworker, all underneath this huge warehouse, and they call it a maker space, right? So because then the gentlemen, not only are they living in this tiny home community, but they're connected to this maker space that they can actually get a job that's more than just a job, it's a career, right? Because when you learn on those types of machines, that's considered advanced manufacturing, which is one of the #1 growth industries here in New Jersey. You can make between $55 and $70 an hour, right? And it will all be funded by the state. That's my idea.
Good.
Tiny home community connected with a makerspace. Yep.
Great.
Yeah.
Judy, Laura?
I'll start if you don't mind. One of the things that we really would like to do is we are, a part of the Mercer County community, but we have yet to really find a partner here in our community. We have we're receiving very small grants locally, but we really haven't been able to express the journey of ALS and how it affects children. We have children who are caregiving from the ages of 6, and who are also not doing well in school because obviously what they're going through, who feel that they don't have support. And so we want to expand our services, but we're maxed out with 3 people running 6 camps, all of our programs, and we don't have local support, big support. And we've tried to reach out, and I don't know if it's just because ALS is rare, but Laura, you want to speak to that or anything else?
Well, yeah, I completely agree with you. I was just wondering, because I don't know the dynamic in Trenton. I do know when someone is diagnosed with ALS now, they have set up something in the hospital where you go to a hospital and all the different people come to you, the speech therapist, the occupational therapist, the doctors. In Trenton, is there any clearinghouse type thing for somebody where they can find out what all the different services are?
I wonder if Henry J. Austin
You mean medical
That's-
services specifically?
No, I mean, that was the ALS model, but for somebody who also is in a really hard situation, is there a spot to just contact somebody, a clearinghouse type gateway where you can find out Anchor House is here for this, fatherhood, and
Board
yeah.
of Social Services
Yeah,
would
so-
probably be the
Mercer County Board
Mercer
of
County.
Laws.
Yeah.
So just to jump in there with that, you know, I'm fortunate enough to be in communication with a lot of different organizations for a nonprofit, and these are conversations that are had often. And what the final decision is that we just don't have the capacity to do it, and that capacity is people, and it's also the money. Something as simple as a calendar has been a very difficult thing to establish here in the city, which is one of the reasons why I started a Facebook page that's a community calendar. And we can't seem to it seems as though everyone is doing so much work that we can't stop for a moment to say, hey, look, let's create a baseline foundation thing that we can just start driving people to. And that makes a lot of sense. And I know that there are conversations about it. But from the nonprofit world, from the social service world, from the educational component, all of those entities are going to have their own portion of it. But just the same as we get tired and wore out from this, the general public, they literally want it right here. And if it's not available to them, they're not doing 2 clicks. They may not have internet service. If they go to the hospital that's here in Trenton, they may not have insurance. So the programs might not be available to them. So that's a very big lift. I think that's a lot of moving parts, though. That's the technology. That's also getting the nonprofits and the for-profits together to even start comfortably sharing information. So
I did have a big lift there.
yeah, you do have a big lift, and that is one that's needed. And if you have any interest in doing that, I'd love to sit down and chat with you a little bit. But that is a very, very big lift. Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Well, both of you guys would have one. Mercer Street Friends gonna get 2.
Great.
I would say our big lift, if we could say that children are ready and prepared to learn without the barriers of dealing with food insecurity. Parents who are stressed and overwhelmed, who might need parenting education, or even as young as 3 years old, who are ready for kindergarten. They're meeting their benchmarks, their physical and emotional and social benchmarks, so that they're ready for kindergarten. I think Mercer Street would have done its job if we could say at every grade level, from preschool all the way through adult literacy, if we could say the clients we serve are ready to learn, ready and prepared to learn, then we've done our job.
That's strange because Anisha and I talk basically every day. And basically what she says was what I was going to say. I was going to say something a little bit different though. And so I'll change it up a little bit. One of the models for the community school is they have a picture of a child with all this luggage, all this baggage. Children come to school with a lot of baggage, and the administration is not really set up to handle all that baggage. But we nonprofits are set up to handle some of that baggage so the teachers can do what they're trained to do, which is to teach, and the students can do what they're supposed to come to school to do, is learn. So the thing I was going to say, mine is more like a little lift, not a big lift, because the only organization, and correct me if I'm wrong, that I know Mercer Street Friends is working with and has worked with is R.E.A.H. But I believe every organization here, we would love to work with you because we're trying to deal with that baggage that the child has when they come to school. And all of your organizations, probably there's some child at Gregory Community Middle School or at Rivera Community Middle School and Gregory Elementary School that's probably dealing with something that everybody around this table could assist us with. So mine is a little lift. Let's work together.
Well, that's great. Hey,
May
you want
I
to add
just go
something?
back to your lift here? I was just thinking, if, that's a huge lift, as you mentioned, but if the professionals who are the first contacts, so let's just say nurses in schools or guidance counselors, have that list of the services available, that's one way to immediately address. Teachers are observant. They might recognize that someone's homeless. I just got a call yesterday from my girlfriend who's in Lumberton and her parent died. She came to me right away because she knew her guidance counselor at school was not prepared to deal with an unexpected 29-year-old mom dying. So she called me. What do I do? So what if there were resources that the guidance counselors and the teachers and that staff had a list just for immediate? Do you think that one of your children's homeless? Here's an immediate. Do you think that your child is hungry? Here's.
That pretty much is out
There's-
there.
It is,
there's-
That is in place.
Yeah. So even in that I know that's the big lift because there's so many genres of what would be on that list and how you would organize it.
Right.
But I think in certain very similar circles, they do have that, like we have a master resource card for adult resources, and then there's youth resources behind it, and that's gone throughout, all of our.
And that's
And open up US
I
Route
can-
1. It's in there.
But it'll be mostly
have to take
services
that.
associated with homelessness. Right.
Which
So
I deal with.
right. But a young person showed me this. The master list is Google, right? Because some of our young people, they are natives to the technology, and so they could actually show me where to go in, what's the first click, and the first click that's going to link you to a site that has all the other links. Everything won't be in one space because it's just way too complex, but it's the navigating of all of, they can find any resource in Mercer County in the country through Google, but you're smart searching. And so I'm training a lot of our case managers that, we make a binder with resources, but tomorrow a phone number is going to change.
Exactly.
But it's really your ability to navigate that online space where that's the only thing that's going to keep up with the immediate changes especially to nonprofits.
Things do change and people contacts change so quickly.
So closing segments, brief closing statement from each person and organization, and then we'll bounce.
Yeah, I would just like to share that I enjoy getting out into the community and sharing and teaching. If there's anything that I can do or we can do to be of help, we're here. And I have complete gratitude for all that you're doing. So thank you, truly.
I wanted to thank you because you're the one that put this together, and it's going to get out into the community what we talked about.
Great. Thank you.
It's not just going to stay in this room, which we've all been in a lot of those meetings where it stays in the room and then everybody walks out the door.
Right. So I guess in closing, one of the things I always say at the end of my presentations is that we don't save anybody. The only thing that we do is we provide opportunities for self-determination.
I would say, and Susan, you kind of talked about this earlier, is that we're not always good at community outreach. By I'm not talking about our direct staff, but Armstead and I. In closing, we're certainly going to make the commitment to get back out there. We have been out there, but Brian, yes.
I remember.
Well, he's still here, not on behalf of our food bank, but yes, he's still here. But we are reevaluating our time and making sure that we're making sure that Mercer Street is out there.
I guess I would just close with thank you for inviting us to the forum on behalf of Anchor House and our board of directors. I'm really glad to be in this kind of a forum. I'm glad that it's going to get out in the way that other people can kind of see the different varieties of people having this conversation. Prior to this, I don't know if I had an assessment in my head in terms of some of my youth who might have interface with ALS and things like that. So now that's a new question. It's a new thing that I might look for in terms of our youth who have family members with illness and the impact that may take with them in addition to housing security. So thank you, and I look forward to future discussions.
Great. Laura?
I think I would just echo, thank you so much. I'm just so impressed with the dedication of everyone in this room.
Sure. Armstead?
I'm just going to echo what everybody said. But now that we've met each other, reintroduced some of us to each other, I hope that we can really, start working together. Thank you, Jock. We're going to continue to do these forums and these events throughout the years, and maybe our last hurrahs would be a good one.
He's gonna move these along.
Yeah.
I am so way past retirement.
So to each of you personally, I thank you for the kind words. Thank you for being a part of this, for being friends, and for being a part of my life and this community. I think that this is super important. You can count on my media access to be a partner with you in any way possible. Please take the opportunity to reach out to me, and I will do whatever I can to make sure that any exposure that I can help provide your organizations and your missions, I will do that. All right. So please, if you'd like, I can send out a group email with everyone's information so that you can save your business cards for the people in the community who don't know you. You'll get it in a couple of days. And once the video is completed and edited, it will go to Armstead, who will then distribute it from there. But thank you all very much. Please make sure that you get home safely. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.